coming to you with our series of the stress busters. And today we're going to talk about talk about uh, one of the stress busters. Very common is the conscious thought. You know, uh, thinking happens. People think, but it is really not so. We have to um, really uh, consciously think about to shape our life to really make it happen. So it is a kind of uh, important aspect in anybody's life, right? If you are positive about thought, positive things happen, and if you are really negative about thought, negative things happen. So that's the topic is going to be. Anyway, for those who do not know me, I am Rao Kulisu. I'm uh, I'm like a internal medicine doctor for so many years, and then as a yoga practitioner, try to bring in both the modalities into helping people with stress and burnout. So I have been working at it for some time, and then I have developed some courses and some programs. I do yoga in the morning, and I have a wellness club where people can come and join and improve their own physical, mental, spiritual goals as we see them fit. And beyond that, I'm talking about how can you be with conscious thought. How can you think positively? How can you make things happen for you? That way, you will be really shaping your future. You know, so most of the people think thoughts happen, and thoughts have no control, and thoughts have whatever we feel like it, we can have that, right? Then when thought happens, really well, things shape very well. There was an ancient story that I read a long time ago, and that was very beautiful story. This man is a woodcutter. He goes to the forest, and in the forest, he lays down on under a tree, and he starts to think about, yeah, this is a very nice, pleasant weather. I'm hungry. I wish I had something to eat. And then things appear before him that he could eat, and he is very pleasantly surprised, and then he eats them, right? And then says, oh yeah, I had this nice food. I wish somebody is here to make some music for me. And then a couple of girls happen, and then they sing a song for him. And then he thinks, oh, I wish I had some other way to really make more money. And then he ends up having a lot of more money appearing before him. So he was surprised, what is happening? And then I hope I'm not threatened by any of wild animals around here because I have all this money and everything. I have to take it home. Then a tiger appears. And he's so fearful. Thinks, "Oh, she's going to eat me," and then it hits him up. So he was under this perennial tree, which is a wish giver, like a kalpataru, they call it, right? And that tree can grant anything that you think. Life is like that. Most of the time, people can really shape the circumstances, everything around their thinking, how they think, how they feel, how they imagine. If you can control these three, you will be very well off. Okay, so that is what I wanted to present today. Let me see, somebody is here. Pawan is here. Let us talk to him. And he wants to come up, and then so I'm going to invite him. And I invite people on the. Um, Hello, Pawan.
Hello, sir. Hello. How are
Uh,
you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? I'm good, sir. I'm actually trying to do this fasting thing, and I had a lot of questions and doubts to ask you, sir, about this.
Yeah, no, no. We are
Yeah,
talking
no, no,
about
we're talking
conscious thought today. Okay.
just not today.
So,
Okay, okay.
so
Okay, sir. Then I don't want to. Yeah, we'll go with today's topic.
yeah,
Topic is
conscious thought. How can you be thought in your conscious? Okay. So instead of
okay. What is so you're asking me the question? What is the conscious thought? Huh?
no, I'm going to talk about it a little bit. If you have a question regarding that, you can ask me that. Okay. So let's go with the
Okay,
let's
okay,
go
sir.
with
If I
yeah.
get any question, I'll
Okay. So what we are talking about here is, can we just have our memories, our experiences, and everything bring us negativity in our thought, or can we deliberately go over that and then be really available to the thinking process being converted into positive? That means you have this, for example, this people in the Ukraine has the war. The circumstances are pretty negative, and they have future threatened, and then their lives are threatened. So, in that kind of atmosphere, when they get up in the morning, if you are they are very fearful and stressed, obviously they are very stressed, right? That is something, even in those circumstances, if you can, those people who are really uh, positive and really forecast something good will be done and we will stand up to this aggression, those kind of people shape the way their entire struggle or entire fight against this oppression happens, right? So even the people who are positive, the leaders, they shape the way that you're going to go around this kind of circumstance, and then be really helped by your own inner conscious thought. That means you got to somebody will rise up and say bravely, "Come on, let us pull us together. Let's arrange something. Let us think like we are going to be independent. We're going to work with all the people that we know, and we stand against this aggression." That kind of thing, right? So that happens, and people face the things with consciously thinking positive about their future. Yeah? Only few people, and they bring up everybody else. What I am saying is, when you don't have negative circumstances like the war and famine and all that, but when you are doing a regular life, do you have charging of your thought with positivity? Do you think positive? Do you overcome the negative thinking? You know, that is a very important stress buster, because you turn your thought the other way, it will go negative, and then it will drain your energy. It will drag you more and more into more of depression, more of sadness, and all that, right? So anybody uh, who is really in charge of their thinking, they shape their life much better than people who are not really focused, and then not really thinking in a positive manner. If you can see uh, something like a light around the cloud, like a sun around the cloud, then you are not afraid of the darkness of the cloud, right? The same thing. If you have a negative thought, negative situation, if you can find something positive, then it will be feeding on itself, and you become more positive, and whatever you think usually manifests in your life. But that thought has to be conscious, that has to be understood. Maybe I have done something, that's why these things are showing up like this, so I have to pay for whatever I have done. That's also okay. That's the karma theory, right? So whatever you sow, you reap. That kind of thing. You understand that, but then they say, okay, this happened. This ill health, for example, you are eating too many sweets. You have diabetes. Then you understand why you have diabetes. You understand what the behavior that was. But don't be negative and not be critical about yourself. But then say, I'm going to change. I'm going to learn. I'm going to really, uh, really affect the behavior that is positive, and then with the hope that I'm going to be better in my health. That kind of thing. So any positivity around identify that and then inflict something of positive in that situation really propels you with the momentum towards positive orientation action. Okay, that action that is oriented by positivity always brings more fruits that are suitable for your goal, and then you march towards that. So this is a very important thing in so many systems, including yoga, where you always be positive about life. One good practice I would suggest as a stress buster is at the end of the day, pick up 3 to 10 positive things that happen to you during that day, and then thinking them go to sleep. That means you have really eliminated all the negativities, everything that you have felt, put them aside, only 3 to 10, okay, and then sleep on them. And usually that results in very good sleep. In the morning, when you get up, also you will be positive, upbeat, and you want to go and conquer the world. Okay, so that's what I wanted to present today. We can go more into that. Let's see, Kiran is here. Hi, Kiran, how are you?
I'm fine, Doctor.
Mm.
I just wanted to understand the context, right? Like, so in general, just to just we are talking about the example what we gave about the war thing, right?
Mhm.
So people in that
So,
zone, so they are like, I don't know how much they, they try to get some gears
Kiran,
changes for sailing.
your voice is breaking. I can't understand you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll let me change. I'll exit and exit.
Okay, okay. Uh, I mean, he's speaking, but I cannot understand anything at all. So that is the um subject. Always people don't deliberately spend time, and then they are the victim of the whatever comes to their mind, whatever circumstances bring to their mind. So either your memories or your circumstances or your um, knowledge, all those things really help you to turn the negative into positive, and you can bear with the negativity better as long as you are really able to convert that negativity to positivity. Okay, Kiran, now try.
Yeah. Is it better?
Yeah,
My-
it's better.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was trying to understand the stress booster. This you said in general, right? But when you bring that example of war thing, right?
Yeah.
For the people in that zone,
Mm.
it is not so easy to change gear towards positivity,
Yeah.
and in the mid of that war on something that we're facing right in front of them, or
Yeah.
let's say terrorist activity or something. I mean, to get to that stage, the daring is something that
Mm.
comes, right? In the
Yeah.
fear, in the midst of that whole fear around,
True.
you have to have something that you have to pull up yourself for
Yeah.
the daring.
That's
Then all the things will, we can channelize to positive or something.
yeah.
Unless you pull up yourself to a daring step or something,
Yeah.
it's all you are in shunking in the well,
Yeah.
right?
See, it's always like that because things happen outside of us and we react to them. How much we react to them determines the outcome. Many nations don't have leaders, all of them leaders, only few of them. They muster this courage, they muster this vision, they muster this optimistic attitude, which they develop within themselves and they portray. And the leader is born when he can see the situation, when he can present that to you, right? And then people look to people like that who have cultivated this positive attitude within themselves, and then they really feel that they can happen, they can do, like Gandhi was saying independence for India way before anybody else saw, because he knew his path was right, and he was going to really be sticking with that positive mentality, and then people will be sucked into that. There were some things that he did, like spiritual practices that helped him to be resilient within and to be believe in his God and all those things, right? So how you react changes. How you react depends upon what is your mental makeup, what is your mindset, what is your training, what is your conditioning in the society, what kind of things you have overcome in the past, all those things, so the leaders will not be threatened by somebody else saying that I'm going to kill you, or they are psychologically free lots of times. And so they can cultivate that positive attitude, and they can inflict that courage in other people, so I'm not talking about everybody, but even if you are in the war zone, if you can get up and then see, this is the deliberate way I'm going to act today, this is the way I'm going to do, this is the way I'm not going to let my thought go negative or fear, anxiety, you are already a winner. And that feeds on other people and feeds on other people, and that how it becomes a momentum, in the wars or political ways, it's always the momentum, right? So the reaction that one goes through can influence many, you know so you yourself can be responsible for your reaction. Instead of blaming, you can say, can I see something positive around it? I'm not saying you jump and join, do everything. No, you just say, what can I do? How can I really make this a little bit positive than negative? That kind of conscious, deliberate thought that you can inculcate will be very helpful. Some people will believe in their God and say, no matter what, He will take care of it, don't worry. And as a matter of fact, one time when the World War II was happening, Hitler was marching. So all the people were very worried. They went to a sage like Ramana Maharshi, and he said, there is a creator, he created his creation, he will take care of it, so don't worry. This is way before Hitler even had a retreat at all. He was winning all over, so and then he was not perturbed by it, and then all the forces came together and then raised against him, and then Hitler was defeated, right? So there are people who are psychologically free, psychologically independent. That means what? They do not allow the thought to be on its own way. They are deliberate, conscious thinkers, and they are positive thinkers. And also, they do not react that for external circumstances as much as other people do. But it's a question of not blaming the people who are reacting negatively, but giving them help as a community, as all the people. So cultivate that deliberate positive thoughts and see the magic that happens. That's all I'm saying. Okay.
Yeah,
uh
yeah,
yeah,
got it.
yeah. And there's a,
Because,
no,
just
you
to
are,
the point.
Karen, yours is breaking again. I think there's something wrong with the reception, maybe, so you are in matrix. So,
Oh, is it better?
and no, it's
Okay.
breaking. I think that's a reception, probably. Maybe you get out completely and then find a good place and come. You know, okay. So, Pawan, any questions regarding this?
Hello. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, Kiran.
Sir, I'm actually outside. Reach home. I'll reach home in 20 minutes,
Okay.
and then I'll, involve in this conversation.
All right. We will not be much today, but I just wanted to present this important stress buster that we can cultivate every day. If you cannot think a whole day, at least at the end of the day, pick up 3 to 10 things that you have something happened to you positive. It doesn't have to be a big win. It could be like a simple thing, like you saw a long lost friend, or he called you, or you have seen a beautiful scenery in the garden, or a bird or something, and you have seen a smile of a child, your child, or you have shared a joke with your wife, and anything positive that happened in a minor way that people slip it off. You can recollect it and then think about it while you are going to sleep, and as if all the worries are not going to be resolved that night. are not going to be going away. You are not escaping them, but just allowing your body and mind rest in a positive atmosphere in your own inner self. Instead of allowing the thought movement to continue in a negative way, you allow it to go into a positive direction and slip into the sleep. Actually, when you go to the deeper sleep, all your thoughts will stop, right? But if you can make it positive just before you go to that state, you are much better off. You can actually cultivate this. All you have to do is close your eyes and recollect what are the things that happened today. If they are negative, then can you do something about it today? Now, no. If you cannot do it, then I'm going to take it up tomorrow morning, and I'm going to face that problem, and then that's a good way to go about it, right? And then some small things I'm going to let it go, but the big things I'm going to take them in the morning. But up until the morning, I cannot do anything about it. Why do you have to mull on them? Why do you have to give strength to them? Why do you have to spoil my sleep? All those things. Once you are in that kind of non-reactive way, then people can react to the memories. People can react to something happened yesterday and all that, right? And then they can go on reacting for years. But if you understand the past is gone and the reaction I'm having is really in my own inner self, then you will be getting out of that very quickly. That kind of thing. So sleep on positive thoughts. If at all you can sleep without thought, that's better. But then that's an advanced meditative practice. You may not have to go there. But daily thing what is happening is people are sleeping on negativity, like they are afraid, fear, anxious, and then they kind of really lose their sleep, kind of, worries they call it. And is that really needed? Or if you have worries because of some situation, can you save your energy so that you can deal with that situation with positive action? So that's why deliberate, conscious, positive thought, positive feeling, and positive reaction are all rolled into one kind of attitude that we can develop, and we can cultivate that every day. Maybe you can say something like a prayer or a poem or something that inspires you to get into positivity, or a book. I read a book about some women around the world. I think something about the sky, fall the sky, something like that. That book was written about these women who are extraordinary circumstances, faced extraordinary suffering, but reading their stories, how they stood up, how they really went from nothing to something creative by themselves was extraordinary. And that book was very inspirational. So you can read inspirational stories like that. There was one woman I read about, Elena, her name. She was in Second World War. She was confined for solitary confinement for 22 years, but how she kept her mind, how she kept her attitude positive was very inspirational. Like the Viktor Frankl, he was also confined to solitary confinement, but he came out of it with laughter, with a lot of positivity. And then he wrote a book about meaning, and that was a very, very, very good book to read about too. And he talks about happiness is not there in a goal, but when you pursue something bigger than you, in the process of doing that, you have happiness. That was Viktor Frankl. So anything like that, you can start the day with elevated thought like this, or you can end the day with elevated thought. Then thought will be propelling in the positive ambience, and that is what I'm talking about. Be deliberate about your thinking, be conscious of what you are thinking, and be non-reactive as much as possible. Okay, if you can cultivate that kind of thing, I think you are really busting the stress at the sea. you know So that is what I wanted to say for today. Anybody else wants to come up and talk about it? Pawan, stay on the topic. Don't go beyond this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sir, I definitely have. Sir. Actually, I stopped my vehicle to talk to you. So, sir, what I think is when you tell is conscious thinking, no, what I discovered recently in my journey to discover this is that the consciousness, see, when the mind starts making its own thought, or when the mind is in autopilot, then it is unconscious. Then only it will create all these negative emotions, like it will start bombarding you with fear and all those things. And then, what the definition of consciousness, what I feel is that when you have control over your thoughts, basically,
Mm.
that's consciousness.
That is the
So, sir,
conscious. Yeah, that's just being conscious. Yeah, am I thinking what am I thinking? If you are really conscious about it, uh, any action you want to do consciously, because that means deliberately you are paying attention to that, and you are
yeah, yeah, yeah,
here and now, even thinking also,
yeah,
one of the things is this positive, is this true, is this useful somebody else? That kind of analysis also helps you to be positive, suppose you are not a very selfish person, you want to help other people and you enjoy helping other people. That is a
yeah,
wonderful way to really uh, thinking about other people, thinking about other instead of our own selfish
yeah.
needs.
You
And
can manipulate the mind. Yeah, yeah. I
yeah,
definitely feel that you can manipulate the mind without knowing the truth. Again, you can
yeah,
go the other way around. You're telling. Yeah,
yeah. I wouldn't say even manipulate the mind. I would say just be conscious of what you're thinking, and obviously you will do the right thing all the time. If you are talking about manipulation, who is that manipulating? Again, the mind, right? Part of it. So
yeah,
don't have to divide yourself. All you have to do is, am I aware over here? Am I aware of what
mm,
I'm doing, what am I feeling, what I'm thinking? If you are deliberate with that, deliberate, deliberate with that, we don't really slow down. We don't allow the things to subside. We kind of get something impulsively, we do that, and then we regret that, and then we have problems with that kind of thing, right? So be
yeah, yeah,
deliberate,
yeah,
be deliberate, and be slow, take it time, and then it will be okay. So the important thing
yeah, yeah,
is, when you have this transition from day to night, night to day, that is when the mind is really vulnerable to this kind of things. That's when you want to
okay,
uh, focus and meditate and see what is happening within you. If you can deliberate time like that, not even much, 5 to 10 minutes before you sleep
okay,
and after you sleep, just to see what's going on with your mind, and what you want to do for the day, what kind of things you are planning, what kind of things you want to face, that kind of thing. Suppose some bill collector is
okay,
coming to you and you have to pay the bill, but you don't have the money. But you need to give him some answer so that he will be satisfied and go. So you want to prepare for that. Instead of when he comes getting irritated or getting angry, it doesn't help, right? But he owes a good response. So if you are calm and deliberate and choose how I'm going to tell him, what I'm going to tell him, then you are honest about it. You tell him the truth. And beyond that, if he's yelling, if he's doing all of that, you cannot do anything by reacting, but just being calm and telling them again and again. That kind of thing phases them, and then they will go away. That kind of thing. So be deliberate, be conscious, be non-reactive. Those kind of things all rolled into one. That is conscious thought. You think with your conscience. You think consciously, deliberately, awareness. That kind of thing is a very good stress buster. At least it doesn't accumulate. Okay, so if you are allowing your thought to be negative, it will accumulate, right? But if you're allowing the past to allow, then it will accumulate. So you can choose your direction. You want me go into the depression or anxiety, or go into hope and optimism and that kind of energy. Both have different energies, right? The same energy turns negative is not really good for you. The same energy turns positive is really good for you because it gives you focus. It gives you more of doing something positive, and then by doing that, accomplishing that goal, you have the confidence. When the confidence comes, your capacity also goes up too. So you are not going to sabotage yourself by not being confident, by not being optimistic and all that. So there's so much energy there in the positive way of doing things, positive way of thinking about thinking and all that. That's why use the transition times to recollect whatever the positive that happened in the immediate past, or we're going to project in your mind to the future. And then when you use the sleep to really reinforce your positivity, that's a very, very positive thing. So you want to sleep on some things in the night and then get up in the morning, you have a lot of solutions also come up from that. That's the importance of having that ambience of positivity around you when you sleep. At least if you can sleep uh, in silence or in the being, that's an advanced meditation practice. Like I don't do any positive thinking, anything like that. My thinking is always positive, like, right? So I don't have to be deliberate about it. Whatever situation you give me, I will see something positive around it. So it's not wishful thinking. It's not like bluffing myself. Nothing like that. Uh, Thinking is only one faculty of man, but control of the thinking can also be done by the man. That's the point. Because I don't believe we are our thinking only, and we are beyond that. I believe that I not only that I know that I'm having thoughts. Thoughts are not having me. So that means the thoughts are my property. I can manage them with a nice color of positivity, or I can slip into negative color of negativity, right? I don't want to do that. So I establish my true self, then thinking is not a problem at all. But if you are not, then the thinking can make havoc with you, because you can never be focused, you can never be conscious, you can never be here and now. Thoughts will take you back 15 years, or thoughts will take you 15 years into the future, never allowing you to be here. But if at all, you cannot really go beyond the thought dimension into the conscious being dimension, then keep the thoughts positive. That's what I'm saying. Okay. Yeah. So, anybody else have any comments or questions? Or you know, I'll give a second for these people to appear. Yeah, somebody else wants to come up.
Sir, but I have something which I discovered recently, sir, about this same topic.
Yeah.
So that's what, sir. So now, what I have discovered or realized is that, sir, whenever we are conscious, we have the thoughts in our control.
Hmm.
Like that's when you know you are in consciousness.
Yeah.
And then when the thoughts are not in your control, when the thoughts are running by the mind like an autopilot, and the thoughts are being generated by the mind, then you are not conscious. And then unwanted thoughts start coming, and unwanted fears and all those things appear, I think.
Yeah.
So basically, when you become conscious, you're controlling your thoughts. You have the capacity of controlling your thoughts. I mean, I think mind also applies in that way. Like, I don't know if it applies to mind, but you have the capacity to control your thoughts.
Now
So
you're
that
getting,
is when,
Pavan, you are
yeah,
getting into controlled and control. But who is the controller? What he's controlling are the same. So either you are in
okay,
the thought mode or you are in the consciousness mode. Actually, we are conscious being. We are having thoughts. That is the thing. And once
okay,
you establish yourself in the conscious being, and yeah, the thoughts can be very, very simple, and they don't happen just by themselves. But you have to ask each
okay,
thought and let it go, and then let it pass. You can watch them at least.
Okay, sir. Now I have one thing. So basically, a mind is collection of thoughts, right? How is the sentence? Is correct or wrong?
Yeah.
Mind is a collection of thoughts, right?
Mind is nothing but thoughts, but then we give them a shape, saying that I'm like this, I'm like that. So the egoic identification makes it like a permanent. Otherwise, it doesn't have. Let's say Raj, what he has
Okay.
to say. Hi, Raj. Welcome.
Oh, hi, Dr. Rao. I found that subject of stress interesting, and I'm hearing Pawan's
Yeah.
what you've been telling Pawan. That also I found interesting. I thought, therefore, I could share some of my journey of 76 years in this planet
Sure.
and related to stress.
Yeah. Yeah. Please share whatever you want to, Raj. Raj, you muted yourself or you want to?
Check. Raj sir, I think you have muted yourself. I'm not able to hear you.
Sorry. I am an engineer, retired,
Okay.
settled in Shimoga, Karnataka.
Okay.
I'm married 49 years backing,
Hmm.
and I was in business for 46 years, retired now. I was
Okay.
in service industry, looking after the service requirements of my customers in the
Okay.
rural districts of Karnataka. And that's my take. And then I also, have hobbies like golf and other things which I help the youngsters to come. Now, here, what got me interested was that to know more about myself, and you were explaining Pawan was very interesting and fascinating. So I thought I should also jump in. Okay. Now, when I look back my life, I recollect the stress nodal points. One was when I had to stand up to my classmates in the school, and then when the exam came, when I was not prepared, then I found out I was no longer a boy, I was a man, puberty, and then when I started looking at girls, girls were looking at me. These are all the points that, and when you take up in your in the final technical exams, and then when you are, the first interview job, and then the girls interview for marriage, and your first child, and then on, and on and on. And how the stress points are, I'm losing one by one my faculties of, what is going to happen. My organ is going to, come down in their operation. And with all these things going on, with all the experiences that I have, and being a kind of a guy who has an response, impulse response guy, and had no time to think of improving myself. Only
Yeah.
after retirement, I found it, right? And I like what Pawan is saying. It's so difficult to find time to invest on yourself. Though you say all you need is 2 minutes, it is the mindset. We are not able to put ourselves because there's so much of pressure in the family, in the work, the customer, and all this makes a jumble mumble out of in our head. That is, the life goes on fast. You end up retired. Now I look back, I don't know how I have mismanaged myself in
Hmm.
the stress uh, uh, factor. So I thought I could perhaps sort out with your help,
Yeah.
Dr. Rao.
Sure.
That's
Sure.
my take.
Yeah. That's a very, very practical point that happens with all of us. And then that's where I come in, because I'm a, modern education product of MD, practicing in University Scientific and all that. There was never explained to us what is the proper way of using thought in external things and how it is very erroneous in our internal matters of our peace of mind, of our how it can influence everything, how we feel, the relationships, and all that, right? So, learning that proper use of thought was very, very beneficial for me because I could go out and function practically, but at the same time, keep my mind silent when I don't need to unnecessarily think about things. Okay, for example, I go and see a patient. I am more available to the patient to listen as long as my mind is silent with him. Okay, so I'm available to listen to him, and then I can see much more. I can listen much more instead of running with my own judgments, conclusions, or opinions. If I'm open to him, he will tell me something from his cultural background, from his social background, economic background. He has a different way of reacting to individual events, right? So understanding when the thought movement is good and when it is not only happens when you know that you are not the thoughts. Thoughts are happening to you. There is a distance, and then immediate impulsive reaction and all that will slow down, but that is a practice. That is a something people have to understand. What I do in the morning, personally, is in the morning when I get up, the first 1 hour of the yoga practice that I do, I have friends coming and joining me on my wellness club, but then I kind of ask them, be here and now. That's one of the requirements, like for that hour, so I just go on with instructions, doing things and all that for the benefit of them. Otherwise, I'm kind of silent, the same things I'm talking about, maybe a little bit variation according to their needs, but still the main point is that whole 1 hour we are here and now, cultivating a presence, and then it is easy for me to carry that presence through the day. And then I'm non-reactive to a lot of things that really do not matter. Suppose some kid comes and he's crying because I'm going to give him a shot. Should I react to him, or because it happens to me like that? A lot of people come with a lot of worries and anxieties and depressions and all that. I may react to them in an empathetic human way, but not make myself miserable because of the problems were there. How can I help? That's the thing. How can I understand this? How can I really throw some light for them to understand their situation better by themselves? That kind of thing. All that happens because you are coming from the heart, not from the mind. When we come from the mind, analysis and wanting to exploit the situation, make something for us, all those commercial things in human relationship, then the thought becomes a problem. Otherwise, thought is good to solve the problems outside and all that, right? But when we turn it inward matters, I think that's where the problem. You got to work with intuition. You got to work with the empathy. You got to work with the love. Love means you are accepting people. One common thing that I use, very very simple, is when I go to the patient, I say namaste to him in my mind. That means I am to the divinity of who is in front of me. I'm bowing, I'm prostrating to that with my divinity inside. That is the meaning of the namaste. Once you are there, then you are always beyond the filters of color, sex, nationality, and all those things, and also beyond the thoughts that they are bringing in. They are only thinking of something because they know only that much. Somebody may come and say, this is because some god doing me something bad, that's why I'm having this. Or somebody may come and say, I'm not doing anything wrong, I'm just taking a few beers on the in the bar, and they call me alcoholic. But in reality, he's denying that he's an alcoholic and his alcohol level is very high and he is having problems of withdrawal when he's not having it. That was his reality. But he wants to convince himself, he wants to convince me that he's a good guy, not drinking and all that. But I'm not going to judge him on that. I'm going to see the condition why he came and he wants me to do. So that kind of understanding of where thought plays what has to be taught to all children, has to be taught to everybody in the early part of life. But people don't go through their adolescent, middle age, old age, and all that, always tormented by the movement of thought, not realizing this one of the human faculties. Say heart beats, nobody minds. It beats itself and it does its function. Like that, mind has this movement of thought. Why don't you observe it? Why don't you withdraw a little bit back and observe? You can do it. Once you start to do it, you will get the hang of it. And then you will see that even in the middle of situations, you can be silent. So the other day I was talking to one of my technology friends who is always busy with something or other, because that's a modern way, right? So many stimuli, so many things you are doing. And this
Yeah.
man cannot be silent during the operations, and his mind goes continuously. And then he sleeps on that, and he gets up in the morning, puts it to fifth again. A lot of people are burning out just because of this principle. They do not know when to rest. So I tell them very simply, every 1 hour, 1 minute, stop and focus on your breath. 3 or 4 times or 5 times you deep breath. That itself breaks that momentum of the thought, and then you will be refreshed and you go back. That's what happens to me every time I kind of do rooms like this. I do engage in people talking to each other, and we exchange our opinion, and we kind of grow friendly, and then a lot of people become my friends like that, right? But at the end of the room, what is that I have to regain? Only those. Rest of them, drop it and go. That way, you don't accumulate this brain fog, because they say 16,000 thoughts can happen to a person during the day. And there was a beautiful analogy for this. Krishna has 16,000 gopikas as his admirers, right? So Krishna represents the consciousness. So if you can stay in your consciousness, you can deal with all the 16,000 gopikas. That's a good analogy. I thought we should remember.
Wow, that was mind blowing, sir. Like the amount of information which you gave. I've taken some notes, but I just want you to touch upon the thing when you told deal with inward thing, use intuition, and when you're dealing with the outward thing, use thoughts. Like, can you just tell it in a way where I can take notes on that, like things like that, if
Now
it's
you are,
possible.
I'll also add a couple of questions. Yes,
yeah,
Doc, you have very beautifully explained. But then it's not so easy travel,
yeah,
because when I did try
yeah,
short meditation,
yeah,
I couldn't, go through it.
yeah.
I got distracted. And then for various reasons, I gave up.
Mhm.
And that's like, according to you, you should consistently be at it.
Yeah,
But I couldn't do that.
yeah.
But I'm just sharing my experiences.
Sure, sure,
Then there
Raj.
was a lot of there's
Yeah,
a lot of distractions in
yeah.
real life.
Exactly
Distraction
true.
of
See
your
what that's why.
work, your family,
Yeah,
your children, your goals, shoestring budget. You don't know how to manage your expenditure or your income.
yeah,
All these things have, over the decades have contributed to me what I am today, right?
definitely,
And
definitely.
then, so that is that the kind of thing that is a very dumb way of doing things, because this is not the way it should be,
Mm,
because you're talking about spiritual connect with every interpersonal, interface.
yeah.
It's a spiritual connect. I'm just not able to do that because I'm not in that wavelength to do it. I mean,
Mm,
so many things on my head. I have to do things very fast, and you know what I'm saying. There's
yeah.
absolute mad rush, like a rat race, and these kind of things keep bugging. Even by the time you know, come home in the evening, you would rather have a drink and then hit the sack and not talk to family members because, like you said, burnout is
Yeah,
exactly what is the story of my life. So the
yeah.
result is that today I find I'm quite stressed out,
See,
and
Raj,
it should not
from
be right. After
from
having
your
done so many things, so many decades, I should be fresh. I
yeah,
should be happy. I should be a good, grandfather to my grandchildren
yeah.
and things like that. It is
No,
not
no,
happening.
Raj, listen to me. What it
Yeah.
is from your experience, you have seen at least the validity of being like a little bit of concentration, and then watching the thoughts, and then being aware of them. Those steps have to be done by everybody. You can teach that to your
Hmm.
grandchildren so that they will have control of this. So what it is we always tell people to concentrate, but we don't tell them how to concentrate. What is the practice
Hmm.
involved now? We just tell them
Correct.
concentrate, and then all this stimuli, like you're saying, absolutely, that is what it is happening, right? The stimuli are going to go
Yeah.
more and more now with artificial intelligence has come. They are even going to
Hmm.
create an avatar for you so that you get lost in that too. You nobody will know who you really are, but they will know your avatar. It is not really you. the
Yeah.
interpersonal relationships are affected, right? But what I'm saying
Right.
is, I'm 67, you are 76. We're kind of elderly people, right? How
Right.
about we sharing our not to reinforce the negative, but also from the negative experience, what is that we have learned, and that they
Mm.
can implement early. Suppose you are thinking of knowing about this awareness and versus thought, and if you had known it very early, you would have been much better off in terms of handling.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I myself, it's not like I was like this all the time, but I kind of
Mm-hmm.
questioned this from the beginning, and I kind of came into right people and all. You know what it is the ancient
Mm.
people in any culture had more affinity towards the nature, and they
Right.
have more affinity towards controlling the thought, because the meditation, they had was attention to whatever they are doing. They are focused on that. This modern tendency of too much of information, too many stimuli, taking people away from attending the main things that they are meaningful to them. You know,
Bingo. That's correct. That's
yeah,
exactly what is
yeah.
the problem.
Listen. So what happens is, understanding this from the very childhood, where they can be focused and aware of the practicing this mindfulness that they talk about. I tell them so many times, don't call this mindfulness, call them awarenessfulness, because in the mindfulness movement that they're talking about, they don't have a mind. They are emptying the mind and then being attentive and aware. So you got to be attentive to everything that you do. You can do it if you slow it down in your own mind. It was one thing, and that becomes a practice. That's what I'm talking about in the morning when I ask them this 1 hour. I can be there all the time, but then they cannot be like that. So you should not expect them. You should see again what is their background, what is their understanding, what is their conclusions, and all that, right? So when they come to me, they may have desperate thoughts. So all they need is how to concentrate their thoughts. Take them there,
Right.
just give them something like a somebody can do like worship, or somebody can do like repeat a mantra or something like that, right? So they're all
Right.
repetition things. Yoga is repetition, and when
Sure.
you do that again and again the same thing, it will be okay. But you know what the entire society did was, they turned us
Mm.
away from our being and used like a cogs in the wheel of the society, whatever they expected. A lot of
Mm.
people don't realize them late into their life what they want in their life. What ticks them, what
True.
is meaningful to them. So those things
True.
can be addressed in the school too. But what we are doing, we are making the memory as the most important thing, and your scores are most important, but not the perceptual quality of the people, or inner dimension is important, how you can be happy and contented within yourself. Those things are not taught at all, and that's where
True.
the
True.
schooling has to be. So what it is even now at this stage, Raj, don't go into the past. Deal with here and now.
Okay.
What I'm doing today. I'm talking to Dr. Rao and Pawan and other people are here. We are all paying attention to each other, and we are trying to be here and now. It starts right now, and then through the day, not being obsessive compulsive with it, but just coming back to the presence, and that slowly happens. Very very simple thing, because we are only here. That is the life. What happened a couple of hours ago is the past. That's gone. What is going to come is not yet here. Why do I have to be there? Why can't I be here with my fully aware energy? And once you are started to do that, you start to enjoy things as they are. And you don't have expectation, you don't have anything from the past dictating it. You see it as it presents. And that is when they call the third eye opens, when you can see things as they are, not with something happened and all that. Pawan is trying to take notes. What does it mean? That he wants to deal with it later. Now, do it here and now. Why are not observing now? That question that. And then you want to
True.
you want to use the
True. True.
notes. Later, that's fine. Just to don't want to. That's like a student wants to understand things. That's fine. But what I'm saying is, you got to live in the moment at least in the morning and at the night, at the end of the night. And that way you will be much better off living fully in the moment, and that present moment awareness builds on itself. And then in that present moment, like Raj is here, Pavan is here, that's positive. Two friends are coming and talk to me. That's the positivity I see. It's not that they have to learn all that we talk about, but they have their own lessons, they bring it up. But then, are the lessons here and now, or way in the past and they're reliving it? Raj is trying to understand all that, but then out of that inside they should be with his grandkids you know
Correct, correct, correct. Very
Excuse
true.
me.
Hello?
Yeah. I have a tickle
Sorry,
in the throat, so I'm taking
sorry,
water.
sorry. Actually, what you have been saying, I do not want to go back in the past and say,
Yeah,
I tried, I failed, and all that. I just start from now, what you
yeah,
suggested,
yeah,
and move on and see
yeah,
how the whole thing works out. Okay,
yeah,
Doc?
yeah. No,
That would
no.
be the right
The
thing to do.
past lessons are important for us to remember, but then
Yeah,
are we living them now? That is the only thing. All the
right.
experience that you had, even this coming and saying, "Hey, I had this. This is the burnout I had, and I want my people to not to have that." That itself motivates us to. It used to be that way. Older people used to pass on the wisdom to the younger people. The younger
Right.
people have taken and gone. So the grahasthashram that they had was, when you are young, you only study. When you are later on teenager also, you just studied and made a relationship and all that. Then you married, and then you in the grahasthashram you kind of provided for the young kids and also the older people. The older people did not just exist. They kind of studied scriptures, they kind of understood the life experience, and they brought viveka, that means wisdom, from their experiences, from their studies. Their business is to be in the hunt of the wisdom and bring it into the next generations. So that worked
Yeah,
beautifully because the Grahasthu doesn't have big problems. They are taken care of by the elderly, whereas the young kids don't have any problems because they can enjoy and study and all that. So all that is muddled up now, and we are robbing the children of the innocence and the enjoyment that they can have, and the beauty of learning they can have. And also the middle-aged people can go and work very hard because their bodies are strong, and then they can perform jobs and all that to make the earning for the family, where the old people kind of really reflected on their experience, really reflected on the journey, like Raj is doing now. And then brought in the insight, and that is the important thing, insights, not information only. From the information, what kind of insights you have, and do you have the insights in place in your life? So that's why they said Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasana. Do you listen? Do you listen the lessons of the older generations? Do you listen the lessons of the scriptures? Do you listen the lessons of the age, very very sage people that are talking about, or even political wisdom, anything like that? Statesmen. And all. You can learn from anybody, right? Once you have listened to the life, to the writings, to the teachings, and all that, have you reflected on them? Don't accept them. Have you reflected on? That is manana. Once you reflected, you understood, you have made those lessons part of you, then did you allow them to come into your life? That is nididhyasana. I think a lot of people all over the world, I don't think only here or anywhere, all over the world, they don't listen first of all, and then they may believe and follow somebody, but they don't think for themselves. And then they never really very few people really make sure that is in their life happening deliberately, consciously. So that's where thought is very important. You need to give thought by thinking about things that opens up a lot of areas for you. People don't think, just accept. They may do it mechanically, but they don't get the meaning of it. But if you really want to understand meaning and live it, you got to think about it. You got to question it. You got to really not believe anybody saying anything. I always say, don't believe anything I say. Go and think about it. My mind is positive. Am I sleeping on the positive thoughts? When I get up in the morning, what's my energy? All those things are your experiences. You get to go and do it yourself. Anyway, I think it's 8 o'clock now. I get to other meeting to go to. Thank you all, and
Yes, Doc. It
yeah,
was wonderful. Thank
yeah.
you so much.
Okay, I'll
I'll
see
try
you.
and work on this
Thank
and
you,
get
thank
back to
you.
you on some other day.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. Lovely. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you, Pawan.
Bye,
Yeah,
Pawan.
thank you, thank you to all. Bye, 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 bye.
Bye, bye, everybody on the Wisdom app.